I'm very excited to announce our next speaker, Dr. Chris DeCoux from Amazon. Please give him a warm welcome.
Good morning. Am I audible to all? See some head nods, excellent. You know, folks are filtering in, finding your seats. I always feel like I should tell some jokes, I should entertain you, but I was told you're not supposed to tell a joke in about the first 7 minutes of talk because you don't yet know like the tone of my voice, the kind of rate and prosody of my voice, and it won't make any sense. So no jokes, just content. But my name's Chris. I'm a clinical psychologist. I lead the global behavioral health team at Amazon. Our team oversees the strategy, design, and delivery of all mental and behavioral health programs at Amazon on behalf of Amazonians and their families. These are some amazing transitions. Just to tell you a little bit more about me, I've had a sort of non-linear career path, which I really like. It's been a great journey the whole way along, and it also makes me the worst mentor ever for my students and people I've worked with, because when they say, well, Dr. DeCoux, how do I build my resume? What's the next right step? I say, you know, just follow your passions. Life will teach you all the things it needs to teach you. Take those ridiculous opportunities that are outliers. So it's terrible advice. Parents have a lot of issues with me when I give career advice, but there's a lot you can learn in life. And so part of my nonlinear path is my start in mental health was actually as a first responder. So this is me as a firefighter 20 years ago or something. And that was my start. I was a firefighter and then a police officer. And for those who don't know, in the United States, oftentimes the folks who get called to help with a mental health crisis are first responders. That's the default crisis responders in many communities. I'm happy to say that's changing and that's evolving, where we're seeing other kinds of responders, other kinds of helpers. But at the time when I was a first responder, we often got called to help with mental health crises. And so that was my start, noticing things like suicidal crises, the impact of substance use, interpersonal violence, all these things that show up in communities. And so naturally I did the next logical thing, which is to go back to school for 10 years or whatever to become a psychologist. I did my undergrad work up at UAF in Alaska, where it's super cold. But that's where I got my start in research. So doing a lot of research with Alaska Native communities across the state of Alaska. It really is where I got engaged in all things psychology, all things mental health, including pragmatic, scalable, culturally resonant models of mental health treatment and intervention. And from there I went on to Idaho State, where I did my PhD in Pocatello. Excellent. Perfect. I can wander around freely. This is great. Pocatello and Idaho State, and I bring this up because this is another place where, for those who haven't been to Pocatello, it is a hub community in a rural state. So again, a big part of how I think about things, think about mental health, is how do we have equitable models of mental health access? How do we have high quality services for everyone, regardless of where they live, regardless of who they are? Just so I have to talk about all the pictures I put on this slide. Ended up at UW Medicine for residency and fellowship and faculty before I got recruited over to Amazon, and I'm an Air Force brat, so spent my childhood moving around the United States with my dad, who's an Air Force veteran. So just to tell you a little bit more about who I am, I'm also a builder. I like to build things, I like to invent, I like to create, and so over the past year or so, I built a playhouse for my kids. I learned a lot about myself because I had to learn a lot of new skills I didn't have before. I'm wearing a flannel shirt, but don't be fooled. I'm not as handy as I portray. I had to learn I waited a few minutes and now you get the joke. I had to learn about how a miter saw works. I learned how to use the spray gun that paints the house. I learned how to plot out these different things that have to be level from the bottom up. And I won't strain this metaphor too much today, I promise. But suffice it to say, because I'm a builder, because I pride myself on being an inventor, it's been the most wonderful and engaging journey to work at Amazon for the past 3.5 years or so. And the reason I kind of paint this picture and make this link for you is Amazon is a place for builders. Amazon is all about inventing the future on behalf of customers. And for me and for the team that I get to lead, it's all about inventing the future of behavioral health on behalf of Amazonians as part of our benefits organization. This is, a remarkable opportunity, and it just is totally aligned with what Amazon is all about, which is being Earth's most customer-centric company, but also Earth's best employer and Earth's safest place to work. And we get to play a big role in that mission and the work that we do on the global behavioral health team. So over the past few years, Amazon has made some significant investments in mental health. This past May, as folks may know, green is the color of Mental Health Awareness Month, so we lit up the spheres green. And I just share this as, one example of our journey in terms of being publicly supportive of the cause of mental health awareness, but also the things we've done from a benefits perspective to make sure that as we're on our journey to be Earth's best employer, that mental health and well-being is somewhere near at the center of that effort. So I'm going to talk about our journey, I'm going to talk about what we're up to, but first, because people say Socrates said this, definition of terms is the beginning of all wisdom. He may have never said it, but it's a good point. So we're here at the Behavioral Health Tech Conference. We're talking all about technology. This is a great word. Anyone have a working definition of technology before we charge ahead? Just shout it out. Be brave. Confusing. All right, great. So technology is confusing. If you've ever seen me try and get my slides to appear on a screen by myself, it's a wreck. What else? What's technology all about? We are here at the Technology Conference for all of behavioral health. What's it about?
Tools that help us accomplish things we want to do.
Excellent. Tools that help us accomplish things we want to do. I like it. And what tools are y'all most excited about in the world of BH Tech? And if you start shouting out company names, that's fine, I'll tolerate it. But what kinds of tools are you most excited about? AI, what else? Telehealth, brilliant. What else? Remote monitoring, measurement-based care, all excellent points. Anything else? Virtual reality, of course, creating virtual worlds. Did anyone read the Cold World studies from 10 years ago at Walter Reed, where they made Snowland for people who were getting burn treatment? So go look that up in your abundant free time later tonight, or see me after, we'll geek out about it. What else? Virtual reality, what else? Alexa is technology that we, of course, love at Amazon. Excellent. Anything else? Jetsons. Say it again? Jetsons in the future, right, with the flying car and the buildings that are really high in the air. Excellent. Did we get it all? Did we cover the breadth and depth of technological innovation? Anything else? Transportation, yes. Say one more thing about that so I know what you mean.
Transportation equity. After the pandemic, we've seen bus routes get shut down.
Wow, so being able to meet a compelling social need, how am I going to get the places I need to get to, not the least of which is how am I going to get to a site of care for some really important healthcare services, including the work that a lot of us are up to. Excellent. Preventative care modeling, okay. So do you mean sophisticated quantitative models that predict who's likely to have a problem outcome so we can do something about it? I like it. We can keep going. Anything else? So someone I greatly admire, before I tell you about someone I greatly admire, I think this is often our frame for tech, and it's totally appropriate. It's like electricity and circuits and computer chips, sophisticated algorithms, incredible code, things that have been built that truly change the world. And this is near and dear to my heart as an Amazonian. It's a big part of how we innovate as a company. It's a big part of how many of y'all are innovating in the work that you do. And it is essential, and it is an essential part of what we're up to going forward, how all of us will help change the world for the better. But just to get really clear and precise, and I didn't make this up, this is from Webster's Dictionary, technology is nothing more, nothing less than the practical application of knowledge in a particular area. And so I think that has really come up in what people are talking about, which is there's all this amazing knowledge, expertise, incredible things people have figured out that are being applied to many different particular areas. I mean, it's remarkable to be in the company of so many inventors, builders, founders, clinicians, scientists, leaders of all kinds. I hope I may say colleagues and friends at this conference, just to hear what people are up to and how they're applying all kinds of sophisticated and particular knowledge to particular problems in exciting ways on behalf of people they intend to help. But now to tell you about someone who I admire, who I know many of you will admire. Anyone know who this is, just off the bat? Marsha Linehan. Why is Marcia well known to many of us? DBT, which is dialectical behavior therapy. For those who don't know, DBT is an evidence-based approach for treating a number of disorders, but really gives folks a way to balance both acceptance and change. So if you've ever done DBT and DBT skills group, you start with these like assumptions that everyone's got to buy in on for a group to work. One of the core assumptions is that everyone does the best they can with the skills they have and needs to do more, better, and different to solve the problems they're facing. That assumption, and there's a bunch of other stuff we could talk about DBT. I'm here for anyone who wants to geek out about DBT later. But why that's such a key assumption and so powerful is it includes the kind of primary dialectic between change and acceptance. So dialectic are seeming opposites that exist in the world but exist in a tension. And so all of us are balancing change and acceptance. So Marcia's world-changing intervention, and that I got to spend some time with Marcia before she retired from UW, and she talked a lot about how you have to find synthesis. You have to balance these two seeming opposites. And the way she talked about her psychotherapy, which at least the early version for a while was paper worksheets. Read the book, copy your worksheets, hand out the worksheets in a session. No technology, as a lot of us think of it, anywhere near it. She always described her approach as a technology of change and acceptance. Continuously talking about DBT as a technology of change and acceptance. And I'm perseverating on this point a little bit, because one thing that I've noticed working in the role that I work in, spending time with many innovators, is to make sure that as we embrace truly remarkable, truly essential technologies like AI, ML, mobile health, everything, predictive modeling, this and that, and all the rest of it, which is so important and essential, important not to run past the fact that there are a number of technologies of acceptance and change that we've got to take seriously in the world of behavioral health. And take seriously in a way that we kind of get into the details. So you might be tempted, if you're focused on technology that has electricity running through it, to not be as deep into some of these other technologies. So for those who are nerds like me and have read all these books, you'll see that I've taken a fairly ecumenical approach. So even though I am like a CBT person, I am a rock rib behaviorist for sure. I've included a lot of books that have meant something to me, a lot of approaches that have meant something to me as a therapist over the years. And I raise them just to point out that some of the things I would say, if you said, Chris, what technology in the world of behavioral health are you most excited about, does the most for you? I might actually say something like Socratic dialogue. Does anyone know what Socratic dialogue is? It's not a new technology, because like Socrates, Socratic. Anyone know? Go for it. Asking questions, asking real questions, questions you don't necessarily know the answer to, as a way to engage someone and help something learn something about what they already know, help them think through the issue they're facing. It's central to like everything you do in psychotherapy, I think, but especially it's more explicit in things like cognitive processing therapy, where if you've ever had to get rated as adhering, having fidelity to that model, you get rated on how good your Socratic dialogue is. How good are your questions? How thoughtful are your questions? Are you on track? Marcia's book's up in the corner. Dr. Linehan, I say Marcia because we spent a lot of time together, and another thing that she says that I think is embedded here to think about as you think about technology, and this has been a theme across many sessions, is sometimes we get really tracked on, I have this technological solution for this disorder for people with problems, and we get this kind of categorical thing that really hedges on the flawed syndromal nosology that we're all inherited, which is cool. But when you look at the work of Marcia, Dr. Linehan, and you kind of think about how she frames things, a lot of this technology comes back to a core point that's something like people feel bad and have problems, and that's where we can fit in to help with these specific technologies of change and acceptance. Just a few others to call out, because again, I'm a bit of a nerd. You'll look at these, DBT is probably the most involved of all of these, right? All 4 modes, implemented almost nowhere because it's so tough to pull it off. But some of these other things, we've got, safety planning intervention, single session, life-saving kind of an intervention. Does anyone recognize this? You can't read it because it's so small on the screen, but there's a typewritten letter in the bottom left corner. Does anyone recognize that letter? So go look this up later in your abundant free time. This is an intervention called caring context. So a bunch of you will now know what I'm talking about. There's a guy named Jerome Motto, Dr. Motto. He wrote caring letters to people who had been admitted to hospital for psychiatric reasons who left and never showed up for follow-up therapy. And if you could read this, it's a really simple message. It says, "It's been some time since we last saw you. Just wanted to reach out, drop you a note. I hope things are going well for you." Full stop, non-demanding expression of care and concern. People who got these little notes from his practice died by suicide at half the rate of the people who did not get them. And so I bring these up is that it's all different levels of resource intensiveness, implementation burden, getting up to some kind of reasonable fidelity and adherence. And so I'm preaching a little bit, but just to say these are the technologies that I think are important to keep top of mind as you move and work in the behavioral health space. And some of this comes down to, as you think about the organizations you represent, as you think about the work that you're on about, not forgetting that you need to find those clinical experts with deep subject matter expertise who will know what you're talking about when you say, hey, for example, this is my favorite pop quiz question when I spend time with people. Everyone is doing motivational interviewing. Who knows what the OARs are? OARS. Open-ended questions? Affirmations? Reflections? Summaries. We did it. Congratulations. So if you talk about, we're doing motivational interviewing because everyone's doing motivational interviewing, you got to know what the OARs are. If you talk about, we are doing CBT because it's evidence-based and this is our stand-in for evidence-based practice, you should have a worldview as to what is the essence of CBT. I would say it's that all thoughts and behavior are caused, but that's also because I'm highly influenced by the work of Dr. Linehan and others. And it's also important to note that for all of these, you've got to have a sense of, are you doing the thing as it's outlined? So if you are taking on different types of behavioral health interventions, are you aligned to a reasonable, rigorous, and systematic understanding of what it is you're actually doing that has some kind of construct validity, some kind of established protocol to it? I'll move on because I could talk about this for way too long, but down in the corner here, there's this anxious-looking dog clip art. Has anyone ever seen the What Me Worry GAD protocol? All right, this is going to be wonderful for all the clinicians in the room. Go look it up later tonight. It's from a government in Australia. It's my favorite generalized anxiety disorder treatment protocol, and it's totally for free. It's up online, so go check that out again in your abundant free time. All right. A lot of you will be familiar with this quote. A lot of you will be familiar with this challenge where the Surgeon General in the US has talked quite a lot about how mental health is the challenge before us. It is the public health threat facing the nation. It is the thing to pay attention to and resolve. And you don't have to look hard to find in the news, almost on a daily basis, some article telling you the latest compelling data point, the latest challenge, the latest bad news when it comes to all things mental health and well-being. And whether it's talking about loneliness or substance use or any of the other challenges that add up to the mental health crisis, they're myriad. And again, this is just a pretty quick selection of some latest news. So the way I describe this is I talk about this as a civilizational challenge, which is one way to talk about it. But I use this word because humanity is not new to civilizational challenges. We've actually overcome a few. Some of my favorites are clean drinking water in most places. Agriculture was a good civilizational achievement to meet civilizational challenge. But one of my personal favorites, because it ties into my background as a firefighter, is that of fire prevention. And so for those who are less familiar, structure fires used to be a major public health concern. Across the world, but including in the United States. It was a major cause of death, it was a major issue, and so to solve this problem, because it caused untold human pain and suffering and displacement and destruction, what they did was they built a sophisticated quantitative model, they predicted which houses were likely to burn down, and they parked fire trucks in front of those houses, and that's how we solved the problem of structure fires. Is that how we do it? No, it's not how we do it. And why not?
Insufficient supply of fire hydrants outside.
Right. We would probably, whatever vector we chose of fire risk, we'd probably identify too many homes. Whatever cutoff we chose for enough risk to get a fire truck would probably put us in a tough spot in terms of having enough fire trucks to park in front of people's homes. Any other limitations to this approach? So when I, go for it. Might be wrong. So if you're trying to predict a low base rate severe event like a structure fire, you're going to have this false positive problem that's really tough to outrun. So it's an objectively difficult problem in almost every way. So what do we do instead? How did we actually greatly reduce the burden of structure fires as a cause of death and injury in the United States over the past 100 years? Education, excellent. So everyone's sort of got this message, stop, drop, and roll. Anything else? Fire safe, make things fire safe. So that's a good call out. So in this room, there's loads of stuff that has electricity running through it. And at least in the United States, there's like endless regulatory guidance and requirements to make sure things will not catch on fire while I'm giving this talk. We're sitting here in a very large space where the carpeting in the floor actually has to meet certain requirements so it will not catch on fire. Anything in this room pretty much has these kind of requirements. There's a sprinkler system in this room. There's a fire alarm system. There are conspicuously marked exits in case we did need to leave the room. Anything else? Great. We changed how we heat our homes, how we cook our food in ways that became inherently more safe. Brilliant. Anything else?
Make the population aware of what to do immediately if they see an emergency fire.
Great. Make the population aware. Right behind you, there's a fire extinguisher on the wall, so that's great. But making folks aware of what to do, including some pretty basic messaging that, like, you can call 911. If you have an emergency, call 911. So there still is the highly resourced, highly trained, expensive, non-scalable solution of fire trucks. In many communities in the US, they're waiting around any time of the day or night to help you should you have a structure fire or another problem. And so it's that whole continuum of different interventions, layers of intervention, layers of education, structural, and in the case of fire prevention, literally structural changes in how we think about buildings and spaces. And this has been a remarkable success where the rate of deaths in house fires has gone down like 50% since the 80s. It's been year over year since 1983 or so. And this is a civilizational achievement. And so you can see where I'm going with this, which is when you look at a compelling, large, long-standing challenge like the mental health crisis, the public health crisis the Surgeon General talks about, it's going to be important to think, holistically, to think about a range of options, to think about kind of the full stack of solutions, prevention, intervention, et cetera, that's going to add up to the kind of change that is needed, that's going to add up to the kind of impact that we all hope for in the space. So because I work in a benefits org at a company, I think a lot about workplace mental health. Did folks see these come out from the World Health Organization and the Surgeon General? Excellent. I see the head nods. What did you think? I see some head nods. So yes, generally good. These were positive recommendations. I put them up here because I think it gives a good overview. For those who are less familiar, go check them out. They're free online where you can see how these different types of responses, organizational, individual, prevention, intervention, add up to something like a mentally healthy workplace, add up to something like workplace mental health and well-being. And they start to give a roadmap that we can all anchor on to be able to make the kind of progress we need to make to take on this compelling public health challenge. And so for the work that my team does at Amazon, we think about these frameworks a lot. We have indexed a lot of our everyday striving to be Earth's best employer on the recommendations in these documents. And so I'll give a little bit of an overview of some of the things that we focus on, just to give you the highest level view of what we do. For everything the global behavioral health team does, we think about how it can be timely, non-arbitrary, and customer obsessed. Timely is pretty straightforward. Reasonable, quick access to services, things are available when they are needed without delay. Anyone have a sense of what I mean by non-arbitrary? I don't have a better word yet, but I'm trying to capture this idea. Any guesses? Great, so if someone is seeking treatment, give them options. You don't force them into one track, you give them options. They have some choice, including a challenge by choice for doing things that might be difficult. Great, anything else? Excellent. Yeah, so for me, when I have described this as not arbitrary, trying to capture this idea that it's got to be evidence-based, measurement-based, outcomes-oriented, but not in one direction. It's not just saying, okay, only choose things that have 2 or more well-conducted randomized control trials. That's part of it, and that's really important, but it's also non-arbitrary in the sense that we build a system where specific indications align to specific treatments that we think are likely to be successful. When you give these key inputs like primary presenting concerns, symptom severity, what you prefer, who you'd like to work with, those things yield some kind of differentiated outcomes. So there is a clear connection between inputs and outputs via a mechanism that we build. And then customer obsessed, have folks ever seen the Amazon leadership principles? I see some of our current partners nodding. They have really seen the Amazon leadership principles in a big way, so that's great. Go check them out on the internet. The first one is customer obsession, where it's not just we care about our customers, it's not just we're really focused on our customers, it is obsession. It is a deep level of commitment to every molecule of the customer experience, making sure that every bit of it works as good as possible, and not being afraid and actually embracing the idea of divine discontent, that as soon as we achieve whatever we think is good, that's now the baseline, we've got to do better. So it's constantly raising the bar, constantly thinking about how could we do it better, what would we do if it were day one, and at Amazon it always is. So to make this a little more specific, I'll talk through a few strategies we've implemented since I started in this role back in 2020. One of the biggest things we did at first was we took the kind of well-worn concept of EAP and have been on a journey to reinvent that, and so to really shift to what we call the behavioral health front door. So instead of EAP as a kind of separate construct or a focus on a specific suite of conventional EAP services, we've sought to evolve this to become the single place to start for any mental health question or concern, big or small, and not focused on just what might be an EAP benefit per se, but really that front door to all of our mental and behavioral health programs and benefits. Some of the ways we make this work is we have built a mechanism that aligns who someone is. So when they call in, we know, who they are, which tells us where they fit in terms of the benefits elections they have made, where they are. This is then aligned with what they say they want and need. So they're presenting concerns, but also any preferences, aligned to a measure of symptom severity, and then all of that filters against a comprehensive matrix of every benefit and program we offer to our employees so that it surfaces for folks in a very quick period of time, bless you, the benefits that they are eligible for, that are relevant to what they need, relevant to who they are, where they are, and we do this in a short span of time. And so that's where, when we think about behavioral health, this topic is too important for good intentions. Everyone has good intentions in the space. Everyone wants to do the right thing. It's so important that instead of good intentions, you need a mechanism. And so for us, we have focused on partnership with our partners in the US, which would be Resources for Living, building the resources guiding tool, also working with our partners outside the US, Workplace Options, to really make sure we have this mechanism. And so it's not just the full suite of EAP services, which is quite a lot and almost no one knows about it. So part of it's telling that story, making those services more discoverable, but also combining it with this front-end behavioral health navigator, which afterwards, come find me, I have a specific definition of navigation, which is 12 things. It may not be the right definition, but it's the one that we use, but really centers on, in a carrier-agnostic, vendor-agnostic way, how do I get you to the helpful things relevant to you that you have elected or have access to, all on the front end so you don't have to go searching for it on your own. And embedded within this, and you can hear me talking about it, and you can see as we've been talking about some of these bigger themes, is trying to populate a range of options. So I've tried to arrange what I think is the range of options, it is the range of options we offer in a logical way. So you can see it's trying to approximate something like a continuum of care. So first one, self-guided tools. I'll talk a lot more about this in just a minute, because we're super excited to have deployed a self-guided tool globally with Twill. Anytime support from a clinician. And this is where I'm going to double click a little bit on where I started with what is technology. It's not unusual for EAPs to offer a master's level or higher clinician who answers the phone and helps you. Where we are trying to raise the bar is getting very deep into the weeds over what is the quality, content, and rigor of that experience, auditing that, building simulated patient methodologies to really get into the details, to really make sure it's what we intend and that it achieves a very high bar. So it's not like the conventional on-call experience. It's one that we hope is as pristine as possible, and we're constantly trying to raise the bar. Certainly there's brief counseling via the EAP, which folks will be familiar with, where we're trying to push this construct in a way similar to the other areas I've been talking about. I should ask the group, what's for the clinicians in the room, others in the room, what's your favorite brief intervention? Like 1 to 4 session intervention with some kind of manual and evidence base behind it. Say it again.
Acceptance and commitment therapy.
ACT, it could be. I mean, I haven't heard that one as a brief intervention, because I think that would be more than 1 to 4 sessions, but I like where you're going. ACT, I'm a big fan. I spent a year of my life in an ACT practicum, and I learned a lot about myself, and I read the book twice. I'm not sure I fully get it, but I tried. Any other brief interventions folks think about? Go for it. There you go, motivational interviewing. A non-judgmental but not non-directive approach to helping someone resolve ambivalence via that really cool sequence of evoking, focusing, eliciting, and planning, and leveraging those ORs that we talked about earlier. I love it. Any others?
Problem-solving training.
Excellent. Problem-solving training, problem-solving therapy, very, very good. Any others? Brief CBT, of which the list is pretty long. And one more over here. Coaching, great. So there might be a variety of coaching interventions that could fit into this brief counseling model. The reason I'm, again, perseverating on this is sometimes there's that reaction that, oh my gosh, it's just 5 sessions. Notwithstanding that it's 5 sessions per issue per year, so it's more than 5 sessions, but notwithstanding that, folks miss out on this whole opportunity that in the world of psychotherapy, in the world of counseling, including brief counseling, even coaching, there is a remarkable opportunity to do things that are likely to be useful even in 1 or 2 or 4 sessions. And I think it's a massive opportunity for all of us to continue contemplating how do we embed this in things like our EAPs, which, as ubiquitous as they are, still don't quite have it dialed in on being able to reliably surface brief interventions within what is on offer for EAP. And I think that's a massive opportunity, and I'm keen to figure it out. Time is evaporating because I'm talking too much about other things, but I'll move us along to say that we also oversee our health plan benefits. Loads of things there. There's certainly in-network providers of various kinds, a variety of point solutions y'all will be familiar with that are embedded within our health plan offerings. And then specialty resources. For those who want to go read more later, we've got a ton of stuff up on our blog about Amazon, which is publicly available, including a recent story. That's my friend Josh in the corner there, who talks about his journey through substance use, treatment and recovery, and how Amazon has been a part of that journey in our efforts to become a recovery-ready workplace. All right, digital therapeutics, I talked about. We've been rolling out TWIL globally. We're super focused on the potential of digital therapeutics as a category. A couple things to note. We are incredibly serious and focused on you've got to have evidence. We all have good intentions. We all have intuitions. We all know the greatest hits list of CBT skills, and that's wonderful. And we've got to have evidence. We've got to have something like a clinical trial. I'm an ecumenical guy, so if someone has the most amazing quasi-experimental something or other, or has some other ideas, we're open-minded. But in general, we're looking for at least 1, ideally 2, well-conducted randomized control trials when we select these kind of solutions. It is important to us as a global enterprise to be able to get the resources out to all of our employees and their families around the world, which sometimes is a challenge. And then we're very focused on a true definition of scalability, which we define as every employee could use the solution at once. That's what we mean by scalable. So anything for which that is not true, we would not say is a scalable solution. And there's loads of evidence. One of my favorite papers in the world is Tom Kepsel and colleagues, 2011 or so, where they wrote about how to estimate population health impacts from RCT data. So go look that up later. But it kind of hits on this issue of, even with the, generally it's going to be a small to medium effect size for a digital therapeutic solution, particularly when not offered in combination with therapy. However, a modest effect distributed at a fully scalable way in a population can have a remarkable impact. And again, gives folks that range of options. So not only is it scalable, it gives folks who aren't ready to talk to someone on the phone a way to get started. It gives folks a point of entree that could be incredibly important if they're not yet ready to engage with another human on this topic. One thing that's been a big focus, also you'll have seen the reporting from the Surgeon General on the challenges of pediatric mental health. As much as there is a mental health crisis, there's a particular crisis and particular challenge for children and adolescents and their families. And so following along with that emphasis and that public health advisories that have come out on the subject, we have prioritized this over the past year, and we are incredibly proud to have rolled out a global solution which will be fully implemented in 2023. That includes our work with Brightline here in the US, and then a custom solution with workplace options outside the US. And again, it's expanding access to baseline support for children 18 months to 17 years, and as much as we can, holding a very firm line on evidence-based practice, systematic and not just reasonable, but exemplary care, and also trying to embrace where possible those opportunities for stepped care, where even though not truly scalable as I just defined it, gives more options, gives more access to be able to have coaching and counseling and self-guided tools all operating within the same program. So we're really excited about this program, really thankful to Beth Rubin on my team leading out on this program and making it happen at high velocity, because it is an important need that continues to grow. Anyone recognize the image in the lower right-hand corner? Apologies for telling y'all to go look up so many things, but I'll give you at least one more. This is the CDC's Continuum of Evidence of Effectiveness. Bless you. And it's one that I encourage you to check out. And I just mention it because if you would like to appreciate kind of my mental model, my team's mental model, as we think about how to categorize evidence, how to rate the quality, or kind of the meaning of evidence, we generally build off of this framework. So that's one that folks can check out if you want to understand how we're thinking about it. But a couple things I'll say about achieving something like evidence-based practice and very high standards. First is, for those who are thinking of doing something like this, you need a team of experts. So I'm a clinical psychologist and a researcher. There are other clinical psychologists and psychiatrists and social work and public health and HR and healthcare experts on my team who all come together to make sure that we can get into, again, the molecules of the interventions that we evaluate, the interventions that we offer, ask scrupulous and intense questions about, okay, you've listed these evidence-based practices. Tell me the 4 modes of DBT. Draw me a hexaflex for you ACT fans out there. Show us, demonstrate, and then help us understand over time your adherence to the things that you're on about, the things that you intend to do, so that we can ensure that whatever we deliver is rigorous, has high fidelity, and then aligns to measurement-based care, where, again, pretty broad-minded about what counts as measurement, because it's going to be different for everyone. And there certainly are lots of challenges to navigate depending on the specifics. But we need some reasonably objective indicia of progress as folks move forward in the services that we're offering. And so we've been prioritizing that. And then also taking that population health view, where we do have individual interventions, we do have things folks can access straight away individually, and we're thinking about how do we have impact across the entire population of employees around the world. In addition to leading our global behavioral health team, I'm also president of the Mental Health and Wellbeing Affinity Group at Amazon. That's what we call our employee resource groups at Amazon. So we have 13 affinity groups. MHW is the newest one. I bring it up here because, again, not all of the strategies required to have a mentally healthy workplace are benefits. A big part of what we do is promote, sponsor, support the work of the Mental Health and Wellbeing Affinity Group so that every Amazonian has a place to connect, has a place to seek support, advice, discussion, and that can be engagement on our Slack channel, which is incredibly active. It can be engagement at on-site events at our different fulfillment centers and other work sites. It's an incredible opportunity for folks to have a safe place to talk openly about this issue. And what I'm most proud of when I think about the work that the team has done in the founding of MHW and growing as a global affinity group is that a priority from the outset and something that is unique about MHW compared to the other things we might do in the mental health world. We conceptualize mental health as first and foremost a state of wellness. Mental health is not about those problems that those people over there have. Mental health is something we all have, and we all get to participate in mental health as a state of well-being, the ability to do what we need and want to do every day, contribute to our families and communities in a way that matters to us, and take on the daily challenges and hassles that come up. But foremost is a state of well-being, and MHW, because it's like in the name, so of course it's going to focus on wellness. MHW is a big part of that. A couple other things to note: we built a mental health awareness training for all of our people managers, which we've also made available to all of our employees. And so since we built that out, that's gone out to tens and tens of thousands of managers around the world. And it's been great to have this as a mechanism to ensure that every Amazonian and every Amazonian people manager knows what to do and where to start if a mental health concern arises at work, or if someone is curious about how to access the variety of mental health resources that exist. A couple other notes, we are partnered up with some external organizations, so really proud of our partnership with the National Alliance for Mental Illness, NAMI, as well as Mental Health America, and a few others as well. So in a very logical kind of way, I thought I'd wrap up this talk with a picture of a toothbrush and toothpaste. So I promise I'm not changing subjects, but I am very curious. Actually, let me say something first. I am highly confident, with almost as much certainty as gravity, that everyone in this room is going to brush their teeth at least once today. So I won't ask anyone to raise their hands. But for those who are going to brush your teeth today, and I'm highly certain everyone will do it at least once, hopefully twice, hopefully for about 2 minutes each time, why do you do this? Why can I be so certain that everyone in this room is going to brush their teeth today? A little louder? Prevention, excellent. What are you trying to prevent? Tooth decay, great. So you don't want to get cavities, you don't want to have a bad time at the dentist each 6 months. Perfect. Anything else? Feels good. So if you're like me and whoever just said that, you don't like the feeling of having dirty teeth, and so it's a very reinforcing behavior. Go for it. Excellent. So if you don't look after your teeth every day, other people will notice, maybe because your breath might smell a certain way.
So by noting, bringing up toothbrushing, now we're thinking about, hey, talking about it more regularly, now everyone's going to be more willing to engage in that behavior. So in the same way, by
Great.
talking about mental health, we're going to be more willing to engage in that.
I love it. No one's ever said that before when I've used this metaphor, so thank you for that. By talking about it, even now, we might be influencing in a positive way everyone's willingness to brush your teeth, and maybe even floss if you're feeling adventurous. All right, so you brush your teeth for lots of reasons. You probably have been doing it since childhood because your parents or another caregiver encouraged you to do this, probably required you to do it if it's like how things are in my household. It's non-negotiable. You got to brush your teeth every morning, every night. You do it because you don't want to get cavities, because cavities are expensive. They are painful potentially. It's really a hassle to get them fixed, which can be uncomfortable. You might do it for your overall health, strong link between tooth health and heart health, among others. You might do it, again, because other people will notice if your breath smells a certain way and you have to interact with them. You can see where I'm going with this, which is, imagine a world where the only time you took care of your teeth was by going to the dentist every 6 months. Imagine if you only invested in your dental health by accessing a formal healthcare service with a trained professional on some whatever base rate you go to the dentist. I think it's about every 6 months. Your teeth would be dreadful. That would be awful. That would not be a good strategy for taking care of your teeth. Instead, you have good dental health by everyday investments, small investments of time, every single day that add up in a very powerful way in the fullness of time across the span of your life. You can see where I'm going with this. I think there's a massive opportunity to be on this journey together. Amazon is on this journey, but for all of us to be on this journey, to make taking care of your mental health, looking after your mental health every day, to make that as uncontroversial and as entirely predictable as brushing your teeth. Making small investments, enabling people to do this through a range of options and through a shared commitment to this as an area of priority. Leveraging the fullness of technology, which includes sophisticated quantitative and electronic things of various sorts, and includes the robust technologies of change and acceptance that have been built out by scientists over the last 100 years or so in the history of psychotherapy. And so with that, thank you very much indeed for your attention. Thank you for being here. Thanks for all the work that all of you do every day on behalf of your customers. And thanks for letting me share a little bit about our journey at Amazon. Thank you very much indeed. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.